X's and O's on the KFAM Minnesota Vikings Radio Network and Vikings.com is underway into the 49ers game. I'm Paul Allen. Here's Kevin O'Connell, coach of the Minnesota Vikings, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. And you did your Monday presser virtual. And when Ekstrom said, Jeff, your mic is off, did it throw you back to 2020, like that awful virtual 2020 season?
It did a little bit, yeah. But I was able to, if nobody else was on that call, I could have helped with all the technical difficulties going back to all the times we had to be on Zoom.
What does one do, Kevin, when quarterback Tyson Bagent enters the game? I mean, do you start with Wikipedia and then, do you watch the preseason film on TV timeouts? Like, what do you do?
No, we had been prepared for him. Really, he was a player that had a pretty spectacular preseason and really came to life kind of before everyone's eyes there in Chicago. What I think they liked about him is kind of a similar skill set to Justin from a standpoint of can throw it, athletic ability to, scramble, create off schedule, but also have some things designed for him in the run game. So we didn't expect all that different of a plan when he came in, but now you got to kind of figure out the flavor. I thought he did play well, saw the field well, got the ball out when things presented itself, and it was able to move the team. Now, where we were able to move the needle is generating some of those turnovers that were huge in the game.
Now, what was it like calling the first game without Jefferson? Yeah. You've watched it back, you've seen good, you've seen bad, but thinking back to calling it, it just had to be so different, right?
Yeah, especially, we saw some things, third down wise in the game pretty consistently that we don't see a whole heck of a lot normally. And that's going to be growth for all of us, me included, as far as how we continue to help all of our eligibles come to life, have the chance to beat man coverage, tight man coverage, where really we're so used to, 11 double JJ, 22 double JJ, and all these different looks, where now we're playing it straight up. Kirk can be aggressive in rhythm, and we can try to attack and get the ball downfield. And I thought there were moments for each guy, whether it was TJ, Jordan, KJ, or even Brandon Powell. But we just need to be a little bit more consistent in our execution. A couple times we had some chances on some play action games, and they're, give credit to the Bears. They sent some pressures to try to disrupt our play pass protections, and they had some success with it.
So how often do you practice an entire week anticipating something's coming, and consistently it actually comes?
It has not been very often since I've been the head coach here. Now, what we did expect, what was probably my number one disappointment in the game, was the movement up front, stemming the front, Pirates, 5 spikes, and really not getting too technical, but just never really no sitting targets on the front to be able to get double teams. There was a lot of post-snap movement that we were expecting. Just didn't handle it very well, PA, and caused us to have more negative runs that we wanted, be behind the sticks, and then have, I think, 6 or 7, 11, or 3rd and 10 plus plays there, which is not a formula, especially on the road in the NFC North, to try to sustain offensive success.
So does that lead to, say, TV timeouts? And it's like, all right, guys, we thought about this, we worked against this, but it looks like it's going to be this, and in snappy fashion, you just have to move on.
Yeah, you got to move on from maybe some of your favorite thoughts you had coming into the game. More so in the run game, hey, they're playing, like you talked about, they're playing more of a wide 9 instead of a 6 technique. That could throw off a lot of the angles and the fits of the run game that we maybe practiced against, but no excuses. That's life in the NFL. Yep. We've got to have rules and plays built to handle and adjust on the fly. Thought we could have been better at that, and that's hopefully what our growth will be moving forward in the run game, and clearly trying to develop more explosives in the pass game.
Kevin, have you mentioned fundamentals more this season than maybe ever? And if that's the case, if so, why? Because this week, part of it was beating one-on-one matchups.
Yep. Yeah, I think PA, sometimes we get so enamored with scheme, but within that scheme, requires guys to do their job and to be coached up at a really high level to how to do the job that we're asking them to do. That's our job as coaches, equip them with the tools, either through scheme and then following that up with the fundamentals and techniques that it will require to win at an NFL level, regardless of what the matchup may be. You still got to do it with detail, rhythm, timing, and technique. To go along with ball security, you're really talking about two of our foundational pillars to our football philosophy that at times we got to make sure we don't step too far into the world of scheme, making it only about the lines on a sheet of paper. We've got to be, able to get these guys to have those plans come to life, possess the football, ball security, and then the details of doing their job, and you'd be shocked at the success that will follow if we just do those things.
And speaking of the word scheme, I've heard it from you and really all the coaches since I've been doing stuff like this. And, like Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, they left and did not return in the Browns game. So that's going to be tenuous, maybe right up to the game. And coaches will say, well, we prepare for scheme.
Yep.
And then I'm thinking like, okay, well, the McCaffrey plays with Elijah Mitchell, just might be a little different or maybe not as effective. So how is that handled when two high-enders are dicey into a game?
Yeah, you've got to still prepare for what you see on tape because they're both tough. Played a lot of football in this league, probably not always at 100%. So we've got to expect to see both those players, but they do. They're a very deep team. So if it's not Deebo, is it Ayuk? Is it Kittle? How are they deploying their guys? McCaffrey is playing as well as anybody in the game right now at that position. So if they're not able to have one or two of those players, it might affect the way Kyle calls it, the flavor of the day, with how they're trying to attack in the run and pass game. But still, they're going to be so schematically sound because of their play caller and the design of what they're doing. That we got to match that with our scheme on defense, how we fly around, how we finish, make sure we tackle well, make it about the little things within the scheme that will make it all come to life.
And I know you know Kyle Shanahan well and have gone against him many times from your NFC West days, and he gets well-deserved praise for his approach to offense on a weekly basis, but he also does have some of the best players in the league. So truly, what makes him so respected as an offensive designer, play caller, whatever?
Yeah, to me, it's his ability to really understand how to attack you in the run game first and foremost, how to create premium leverages, angles, matchups within the run game, where they want to run it, whether it's behind Big Trent on the left side. Kittle's a premier blocking tight end. They've got Juszczyk as a really all-purpose Swiss Army knife. So he's got the tools and the players, but then the scheme is really sound. And then above all that, his ability to understand your options to defending those runs, how players are going to fit different gaps and how he can put guys in conflict to, I got to defend this gap, but also this route to Ayuk or Samuel right in behind me, and it all happens in real time. They play incredibly hard and physical, is probably the one thing that jumps out on the tape above the scheme is just how hard they play.
Yeah.
And you got to try to match that in all three phases. Otherwise, the attrition of a game and will take its course on you over time, and you've got to find a way to possess the football, and definitely better than we have this year. Keep that offense off the field, try to churn out some plays and some tough yards against maybe the best defense in football, and then you got to finish with points. You got to possess it. You can't turn it over and give them easy paths to points, which is the number one way to let these guys come in here and get a win, which is what we're going to fight like crazy to make sure it does not happen.
And Kevin, so for Monday Night Football and the Niners, I mean, we at this stage of the equation don't exactly know who's going to play, but like Kyle, you may start with Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Kittle, all these high-enders, but I mean, Juszczyk's unbelievably key to what they do, right? Because everything he does is 100 miles per hour, and he hits hard.
Yep, he's normally, when you watch some of their real explosive runs, he's normally the block that springs the play. He's normally at the point of attack, whether it's fitting up on a linebacker on the second level. Sometimes he's blocking some of the bigs. On the edges, which allows them to have unbelievable angles back against the rest of your defense. And then just when you start worrying about all that, he's a major part of their play action pass game because they truly marry the run and the pass as well as anybody. So you really have to be sound about what your plan is to obviously attack that run game and try to limit their explosives and their ability to just kind of churn out yards all the way down the field. And the second you commit too much to that run game is when the explosives happen and the ball can get thrown over your head.
A couple more for the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, on X's and O's, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. And we mentioned it earlier, beat up or not with some of their high-end skill guys. It's always important to start fast. We hear it here and everywhere, but specifically in this game, with your crowd, off a win. I mean, starting fast and jumping this very good team. I mean, is it shared or do you push on that more into this game than usual games?
We've really been trying to really emphasize getting off to fast starts.
Emphasize is the word I was looking for.
And then really just the response when things inevitably won't always go our way. And it's a funny shaped ball. Things are going to happen. We've got to control what we can, which is our technique of how we carry the football, how we, try to deploy our players to maximize offensively our chances of having success. And then defensively, it's about tackling. It's about running to the ball. It's about setting edges in the run game and playing the cutbacks and simple things that you've got to make come to life every single play against a team like this. Our crowd right there with us. Hopefully we get them some things to be excited about early. And then it's going to be an absolute dogfight all the way to the very end. We know that against this team. That's what happens when you take on a team that has been right at the top of the NFC for the better part of the last 3, 4, 5 years now because of how well coached they are. And they do have a pretty spectacular roster of players as well.
Generally speaking, what do they ask of Brock Purdy?
I think the narrative is it's easy to think Kyle and this run game and players around him. But what I see is a guy playing quarterback at a really high level, throwing with anticipation, seeing the field, making some critical plays on some third downs to extend drives and let them get back into what they want to be offensively on those early downs. And he's consistently done it basically every game he's played since getting the opportunity to be in there. So he's a challenge. He's in complete control of Kyle's offense and what they're trying to do. So you got to try to make him uncomfortable. The formula for a guy like Brock Purdy is no different than playing any other quarterback in this league. Try to make them uncomfortable. Try to make them feel like they've got to force some balls into some tight windows. And then can you make the play? Tips and overthrows. We saw it last weekend in Chicago. It'll be important that we try to see that a few more times this weekend at US Bank Stadium.
And lastly, by the way, the 49ers do have a defense, and Nick Bosa happens to be pretty good.
Yeah,
but middle linebacker Fred Warner, he's a tough customer, isn't he?
As far as a guy that the green dot players, which, for fans at home, the green dot means he runs the whole defense, communicates, gets the call from the sideline, and then that's just the start for Fred Warner. He will diagnose plays, he will check them. You'll see him making, a lot of hand signals to get them in and out of calls into different defenses. They've really equipped him with the ability to kind of run the show and have the keys to that whole thing. Greenlaw's a really good player right next to him. Tafanga's really come into his own as one of the premier safeties in football. And then Bosa, Armstead, the list goes on and on. Hargraves, and they just when you thought they had everything they needed up front, they go out and add him as well. But you have to have a plan, and you have to have a plan to account for Bosa, Armstead. You cannot let those guys wreck the game before it gets started. And then when the ball gets going and when you're able to get some plays going, just when you think you're sustaining a drive, that's right when, 54 gets his hand on a ball or goes in on a tackle and punches it out. And then it just seems like there's a lot of gold hats around the ball when that happens because they play so hard.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, PA.
Appreciate you. Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. The defensive pass game coordinator, Durante Jones, is next on the KFAM Minnesota Vikings Radio Network.